Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, and now I continue the next part of my extreme marathon by going over to Japan for the Guinea Pig series. Now, for those that don't know what Guinea Pig is, it was a series of films that started in 1985. They started off as faux snuff films, simulated snuff films. Possibly due to the success of, or the underground cult success of Faces of Death. Could be wrong about that. Maybe, I'm not sure where it comes from. But the first film in the series is The Devil's Experiment, or just Devil's Experiment, which came out in 1985. I got all of these off of iOffer, so these are bootlegs. It's set up the same way. These are the first two that I'll be reviewing. The other two cases are over there, but they come, 8 movies or 8 features, or seven films and one making of, and then a worst of, so technically 8 features. But it's the same thing that you will get in the very expensive box set. But The Devil's Experiment, the snuff style is really just the first 2 films, then they start adding narratives to it. But this, it opens up with a text crawl, I think, to help sell the authenticity, kind of create urban legend. Which, there's an urban legend involving a famous Hollywood actor behind this film, which I'll get to. But the text crawl says, I stumbled across this film that depicted real acts of these 3 men gradually torturing this one woman. Should say 4 men, because there's also the cameraman. And the experiment is really, they're testing the physical and mental boundaries of which a human being can suffer as far as torture. And it starts off somewhat small and it builds up as the film goes on. These are all very short. I mean, this film and the second film are both 43 minutes each. So hopefully this is not a long video. But I would say although the effects, like the blood and gore effects, are well done, the filmmaking itself doesn't really help sell anything authentic. For example, the camera angles, it doesn't, even though it's considered found footage, it doesn't really have that found footage feel. You get a lot of establishing shots, like of the house out in the woods that they're in, way up high, or it just doesn't feel found footage. But we see this woman who's in a hammock that's closed up. She's just kind of hanging there. And each segment of torture has a title card where it has the Japanese symbol and the American word underneath it. The opening crawl: several years ago, I obtained a private video under the title Guinea Pig. Its commentary said that this is a report of an experiment on the breaking point of bearable pain and the corrosion of people's senses. But it was in fact an exhibition of devilish cruelty, as 3 perpetrators severely abused a woman. Note, guinea pig is defined as any experimental material. So, and it's split up into 10 segments. The first one is Hit, where she's tied to a chair, they slap her in the face 50 times, then 100 times. And then the second one is Kick. This one is not very well acted because they blindfold her, they kick her, and every time she gets up, they push her back down and kick her. The kicking, you can definitely tell, is simulated in acting. They call her horrific names and say terrible things to her. It looks mostly like shoving and pushing than it does kicking. The third is called claw, where they just take a pair of pliers and just kind of pull and pinch her skin here and here. Then is unconscious, which first we see her in the net. And then this is another reason why the found footage doesn't make sense, because we see her POV as the net is spun around. And each time we see her in the net, the film gets more and more towards black and white. But unconscious, they spin her in a chair first, I think it's 50 times and 100 times. Then it's sound, where they tape these huge headphones to her with extremely loud white noise and sound effects. And as each segment goes on, she becomes more and more out of it and harder to wake up. Sixth segment is skin, where they rip off one of her fingernails with a pair of pliers. We see her outside again, and this time it's starting to look a bit green and gray, sort of color contrast. And then here's when it starts to get more extreme, because we have the segment burn, which the first time I saw it, because I bought these probably about 8 years ago. As I've said before, I went through a phase where I was trying to find the most fucked up shit. And of course I heard about these and had to see them. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of this series. This is kind of boring, but I mean, it is what it is. This one I enjoyed, and then the fourth or sixth, there's a dispute. But the one about a sick mermaid, that one's actually pretty disgusting. I do like that one. The rest I think are pretty awful. But the first time I saw it, I thought it was water, but it's actually hot oil. They pour hot oil at 50 degrees on this part of her arm. She's tied down. I didn't think 50-degree oil would be that hot. Maybe it is, but we see her arm gets kind of red. Then they do 150 degrees, and we see the welts and blisters. Again, looks great. The next segment is called Worm, where they just dump maggots all over her, especially right here. But she doesn't wake up. I believe the next one was, Guts, where she's outside and they're just throwing disemboweled entrails on her. Again, looks really real. Possibly could be. I don't know if they're human or animal. I'm going to assume animal. Both in the context of reality and film. But when she wakes up, she freaks out. And then we see, this doesn't really have a segment, but we see a scalpel going along her hand with blood oozing out. Then her hand is hit with a sledgehammer. And then the last segment is called Needle, which of course is on the cover of the VHS of this. It's become sort of the symbol of guinea pig. They pretty much just send a needle through her temple and out her eyeball. And then it freeze frames on that. And that's the end of the film. And then the ending text pretty much says, the details of this experiment were missing when I received this video, but the name, age, and other information of the woman and the 3 men in this video are under investigation. When this came out, of course, in '85, it was considered disturbing. A lot of people didn't buy the authenticity. maybe by that time, I think Faces of Death had come out to be fake, or at least for the most part to be fake. It didn't really amount to anything at first, but over the years it grown like underground cult status, especially amongst hardcore fans. And I mean, just seeing it for what it is, just another fake simulated snuff film. Again, it's not quite like August Underground, even though it came out 16 years prior. The video quality is much better. It is pretty slow, even for a 43-minute film. But I will say the effects, when they are there, which is pretty much just... And even though you don't see much except for twisting of the skin and the plier segment, you see the bruises of that and the kicks and the slaps as the film goes on. So there is continuity. But the burn and the needle effects and even the scalpel and the hammer, all pretty well done effects for the low budget and what kind of film it is. It doesn't say what the budget was, but it was written and directed by Satoru Ogura, who I believe did the first 3 or 4 films. And yeah, this is the cover of the first VHS. But anyway, yeah, that is the first guinea pig film, and I'm glad these are going to be short videos. This comes with Android of Notre Dame. That's one I did not like at all. But Devil's Experiment, just for a fake snuff film done in this experiment kind of format. Again, the authenticity of it doesn't feel real, mainly for the filmmaking. The film, it doesn't do a very good job at making it feel real like August Underground does. But yeah, guinea pig number 1, Devil's Experiment. Thank you for watching.